Good morning again. Much sunnier today. Around -2 with a wind chill of -9. Again, that's Celsius if you are of the American persuasion. They're thinking, wow, it seems awfully cold. So it's a little below freezing. And just putting on my gloves, and then I'll put on my hat too to start with. I'll probably take it off once I've walked a bit. If I can do that with one hand, basically. I should have put it on before I started the live stream, but oh well. You get the motion dampening motors on the Osmo 3 gimbal here. Get a workout. So I'm trying to put my gloves on and the lanyard to keep me from dropping this thing. And then I dropped my hat. That on. There. Not the smoothest beginning. Okay. So my goal today, I think, I'm going to walk all the way down to the McKinsey Art Gallery. Kind of go down along Albert, but inside the trees on the legislative side. And then when I come back, I'll walk back through Lakeview again on the other side of the street, but a block in. So we're walking up Angus instead of walking up Albert itself, which is quite noisy because it's the busiest street in town. If you happen to be watching this or catch this live on Facebook, please drop me a note. I can see those. I will limp here for a little bit till my knee limbers up. It's still complaining about all the walking, but I'm not going to let it get the better of me. I do have to walk over the Albert Street Bridge, which is somewhat noisy, but I've done that before. Maybe I'll walk down the other side instead of this side this time. Beautiful sunny day, so it actually feels warmer than yesterday already, even though it's only a degree difference than it was yesterday. Well, I'm calling this a vlog. Video log, ugly word. But that's the word that's there, vlog. Because I talk as I walk. There's lots of walking videos, and some people talk. A lot don't, they just walk and never say a word. But I like talking, you may have noticed. And talking as I walk has actually made this much more interesting for me and made me more committed to getting out pretty much every day to walk. So from an exercise point of view, which is the main purpose of these walks, then it's been quite successful. And in fact, I've lost weight since I started doing this. Unlike most people, I actually lost weight when the pandemic restrictions kicked in last year, because I wasn't going so much to, say, the Hotel Saskatchewan lounge to write in the afternoon and eating lunch there and maybe having a beer. So my calorie intake went down. And then while I was being active as well, and over this winter I gained a few pounds back, but since I started walking again, I look back into the spring, lost a few pounds, which is nice. I have kind of a set point that I have been at most of my life when I don't do anything really extreme. I've lost a lot of weight at times, but it always kind of comes back to this set point where I am now. So the Kickstarter is at 65%, $9,776 as of this moment. Confident we'll get there. 2 weeks to go, a little more, 15 days. 2 weeks from tomorrow will be the end. I'm highlighting a different author every day, so in alphabetical order, we're up to the L's. Yesterday was Adria Laycraft. Today's featured author is David D. Levine, author of the Arabella of Mars trilogy for Tora Books, which are very fun. I've only read the first one, but I enjoyed it. Regency It's set in a it's set in a solar system where there is actually ether. There's actually substance between the planets, and so you can literally sail interplanetary currents from one planet to the next. So it's like set in sort of the Regency period. So it's all that kind of stuff. Only instead of sailing ships, they're sailing spaceships. Unusual concept, but it works. It worked very well. Like I said, I enjoyed it a lot. Go across here and walk down the other side, going down Albert. Crossed here before. There's the Albert Street Bridge. I'm just waiting for my light. It's always kind of slow to change here. I guess because there's so much traffic. Should have worn my sunglasses almost. It's very bright looking into the sun. Funny that. You know, unlike all those times when it's not bright looking into the sun. Come on. I don't know why it takes so long to change, but it does eventually. Ow. Is that me again? Again, that speaker's corner there in front of us. We're going to go down the bridge on this side this time. Let's take a look and see. Yeah, I'd say it's still very flooded. Normally I would go through this walkway down here, but it is completely full of water. I don't think I've ever seen it like that, even in the spring, but maybe I just haven't looked. Go this way, you can see the legislative building over there and the flags. I don't know why we're flying Greek flags on the bridge at the moment. I'm sure there's a good reason, but I don't know what it is. Greek flags alternating with Canadian flags. If you'll recall, the last time I came this way, they were Union Jacks, which I figured was for Commonwealth Day. I don't know what the Greek connection is right now. I don't even know where you find out. It must be on their website or something. City website. This would be a city decision. Although this is the legislative building over here, the bridge would be the city's responsibility. Longest bridge over the shortest body of water, it's sometimes called. I don't know if that's true or not. The lake is still frozen. See? Expected to open up any time now. It always seems to happen rather suddenly. The ice, and then all of a sudden it's water. And it's supposed to be really warm again coming up in the next day or two after this brief reversion to cooler temperatures. So one of these days I'll come this way and show you open water. And then there'll be leaves. Might even be a hint of green in the grass already in places. It's usually the first thing you notice. And of course, when I started my walk yesterday, there was a robin, sign of spring, so there you go. I'm just playing with this, trying to keep the sidewalk in the center. If I turn my hand, it'll work just as well. I keep turning using the controls, but what I really have to do is adjust which way my hand's pointing. And it will notice accordingly. Again, if you happen to be on Facebook, leave a comment. I should see it. If you're watching it on YouTube, which so far hardly anybody has, live, although it picks up views after I post the high-def, non-buffering version, because I know there are occasional buffering issues with the live stream. Just pick up views there. Not a lot. I'm not competing with the guy that inspired all this, walking commuter from New York, who gets thousands or tens of thousands sometimes. Certainly thousands of views every time he goes for a stroll, which he does. I don't know, he seems to spend hours a day walking, but he's got enough followers that it's monetized. So people will give him money as he walks. I haven't added it up because I don't usually watch his entire walk, but he must make several $100s a day just walking. If I were doing that, I might walk more too and write less, so I think it pays better than writing. Of course, Albert Street here, Albert South, has some of the nicest old houses in the city. Over on this side, we're about to go by the legislative building again. I like this sidewalk because of the way it's framed by trees on both sides. The horizon is better. I'm never entirely sure that it's 100%, but it's definitely adjusted from the first few times. The Osmo gimbal has its own app, which has a ton more features for videoing. If I were going to use it for, just making a video, I'd probably use that app. But for live streaming here, this Prism Live Studio is great. There's the ledge again, as we call it, Saskatchewan Legislative Building. Don't know what people think when they see me carrying this thing around. I would rather not know. Again, some of the nice houses on the other side there. Always like that one in particular. Walked directly by it the other day when I came down the other side of the street. It's a long straight walk today. It'll be a straight walk down there and a straight walk back. Pretty much. Except instead of going across the bridge, I'll go through the park and take us across the familiar footbridge I've taken many times on the return trip, I think. Don't actually know how long this walk will be. Mackenzie's further away than I think. This is, of course, quite pretty in the spring and summer when the trees leaf out. But the leaves have left, and they have not yet returned. Now, what I might do here, I'm going to maybe, just to vary it, I will leave the long, straight sidewalk, and we'll walk just a little bit inside the perimeter here, along the road instead, to get away from the traffic. You get the idea of this road anyway. I think you can extrapolate what it's going to look like the rest of the way. We lose our sidewalk here, but it's not a lot of traffic. I always like the morning light. It's interesting. Again, there's the legislative building over there, looking handsome. sidewalk on the other side, I guess. Wasn't sure there was. So over there. Anybody watching on Facebook, please drop me a comment so I know you're there. My theme song, again, is from Paint Your Wagon, slightly modified. I talk to myself, but I never listen to me. I talk to myself, but I never hear me. Thank you. Try the fish. I'll be here all week. Government buildings over here, government office buildings. We walked the other way past this one as well on a previous journey. It's kind of silly. I worry about repeating myself on these walks, but of course different people watch them every time. And as long as I stick to my neighborhood, there's invariably going to be repetition. One of these days I'll get over to the university campus. I could walk all the way there, be a bit of a hike, or I might drive over and then just walk around over there. Made some good progress on The Tangled Stars yesterday, the novel I'm currently writing for Da. Much more than I have some days. Hope to do more today. I'm flying by the seat of my pants more on this novel than sometimes. It keeps surprising me. Which may sound odd, but that's the way writing works. Yes, I have a synopsis with the broad strokes of what happens, but the details keep surprising me, of the characters and the language that I somehow just appears as I type. It's a very weird thing, writing. And the more you do it, the weirder it gets. What was I reading? Oh, it was, we're reading some essays by Robertson Davies called, what is the name of the book overall? Myth? Something about myth or mirror or something. Published posthumously. And they're essays and speeches that he gave and things like that. I've only read a little Robertson Davies, but I very much enjoyed it. And I'm very much enjoying this book and his authorial voice. He died in 94, I think, or 93. This book came out in 95. Alice, my daughter, read Fifth Business in school. And yesterday we were reading the speech he gave in Scotland where he talked about Fifth Business and how we thought it was mostly misunderstood. But he was talking about, people who say they would like to be a writer, but they never become one. He thinks, and I've often thought, that there is actually an innate, I think it's a genetic thing for people who write and people who don't, can't, won't write. Like a writer, and this is certainly true of me, if I sat down at a blank page and I wrote Once Upon a Time at the top, I could go from that to a novel without necessarily doing any preliminary work. Once upon a time, in a dark valley beneath towering snow-capped peaks, lived a poor woodcutter and his son. The woodcutter was childless. Well, no, I meant to say was a widow. He totally wasn't childless because he lived with his son. But and you're off and running. I mean, that's a fairy tale. Wouldn't have to be with Once Upon a Time. It could be anything. Which is why that's such a popular beginning to stories. So yeah, I do think there's an innate component. But then you develop it. And one way you develop it is by reading. So people who want to write have to be readers. You get that sense of how stories are told and how novels are constructed, how short stories work, how plays work through reading, or in the case of plays, going to plays. And you kind of imbibe that, and it settles into your soul, into your mind. And I don't know, I can just tell when I'm writing, where should the next scene break be? Oh, it's going to be here. And which viewpoint character should I use? This one. All those sorts of things. I don't plan them out to the extent that some authors do. But again, there's a million ways to do this, and some authors do extensive planning, but there's still that writing sensibility, that innate ability that's been honed through reading, and sometimes through some level of instruction, although you'd be surprised how many authors I talk to in the World Shapers podcast who may have taken formal creative writing, but don't actually felt it was very helpful, especially writers who write science fiction and fantasy. Now let's see here. That's the T.C. Douglas building ahead of us, which is where the Mackenzie Art Gallery is located, and a bunch of government buildings as well. But I think kind of roundabout, we'll take this path behind it and then come back in front of it as I head to the other side. And it's such a beautiful day, and that wasn't as long a walk as I thought it might be down here. So I teach some writing and have for quite a while. I've been writer in residence at Regina and Saskatchewan public libraries, and I've been a mentor. I'm mentoring somebody right now through the Saskatchewan Writers Guild mentorship program. And in the Kickstarter, if you have $3,000 burning a hole in your pocket, you can support the Kickstarter at that level, earn my undying gratitude, and I will mentor you one-on-one, 3 months or longer. I say 3 months, but who knows, on whatever project you want, with regular consultations, and I'll review a certain number of words per week. And that's there. I'm also offering two short story critiques at the $500 level, where I will read and comment on a short story up to 5,000 words on the backside of the T.C. Douglas building. Could go in this way, I think, but I don't want to carry the camera through, so I'll keep walking around outside here. It's quite a large, sprawling building, as you can see. Skylights, terraces over there, plants in them, so it's really fits in well to the prairie landscape. T.C. Douglas, of course, was Tommy Douglas, former Premier of Saskatchewan, who was from Weyburn originally, as am I. I'm not originally from Weyburn, but that's where I grew up. He was a Baptist preacher there, and then went into politics and became the first Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, CCF, Premier, which is, I think if I go up here, I'll be able to get down this side of the building. I don't necessarily want to walk too much more that way. Again, here, take the ramp up and see where it leads us. Yeah, this will take us around to the front. The CCFs were socialists, so he had the first socialist government in North America. And later he went and became the first federal leader. The CCF was very much a populist prairie kind of party, out of farmer representation. And when it sort of amalgamated with the labor unions, it became the New Democratic Party, which still exists. I think he was the first leader of the New Democratic Party, but was not nearly as successful with the NDP. The NDP has never formed government in Canada, although we've had NDP governments in Saskatchewan. We currently don't. So you feel about that. It depends on how you feel about socialism and all that kind of stuff. And I have my opinions, but this is not a political vlog, so. Anyway, that's the T.C. Douglas building. This side of it. We'll see more. I'm going to go up here and walk on down back to Albert and cross over to Angus Street on the other side. I met Tommy Douglas when I was at the Weyburn Review, took a picture of him opening the door to his old church, which has since been moved from its original location up onto what we call South Hill in Weyburn, one of the few hills in that part of the province. The river winding around the bottom. The church has been moved up there, and it's now called the T.C. Douglas Cavalry Center for the Performing Arts. It's a theater, and I performed there, and one of my plays was performed there. I wrote a play called Circle the Crops, which is about a small town newspaper guy when crop circles show up, possibly aliens. It was a lot of fun. Crocus 80 Theatre, which the original version of that I was a founding member of. This is kind of a reconstituted version they have down there now. Did it for the city's centennial in 2013, and I even had a cameo in one performance, and it was free admission, so I had really good attendance. It was packed. It seemed to go over really well. I also heard Tommy Douglas speak, probably on that same trip. He gave a talk out in some small community. I don't remember where it was exactly. I know I drove through the hills to get there. Is it good water? Is good water out there? Maybe it was good water. There's the T.C. Douglas building again, through the trees. It's a good speaker. He was basically giving a version of his classic stump speech. That play, Circle the Crops, was actually written for the 24-hour playwriting competition, maybe the first one that the Saskatchewan Playwrights Centre runs. Full-length, 2-act play, and I wrote it in 24 hours. Did some editing after that, of course. But the other plays I've written, they go fast. Writing plays is fast for me, at least the first draft. There's always revision. We'll cross here and then go down. We'll go one block down 23rd here and then go south on Victoria Avenue.
Wait to cross.
I will. Again, if you happen to be seeing this live on Facebook, leave me a comment. I know you're there. I might be able to answer whatever you comment on. Wascana Center, it's called. And there's the T.C. Douglas building in there behind it. Another long light. Not the most exciting part of the video. Standing on the corner, watching all the cars go by. Standing on the corner, watching drivers give me the eye. Really, I don't know a nicer occupation. Matter of fact, neither do I. That can't work. You don't know a nicer occupation. In fact, neither do I. Then standing on the corner, watching all the cars, watching all the cars, watching all the cars go by. Thank you. Broadway parodies, free of charge, right here on Edward Willett's walking vlog. Ooh, I'm getting warm. Unzip my coat here if I stay in the sun, although it may be more shade when I go around the corner up here. Okay, we've been going south, now we're going west. I'm gonna turn and go north. A long skinny walk today. I'd love to say I'm a long skinny walker, but while I'm long, I don't think I'd say I'm skinny. Yeah, do I really want to go down Angus or go down further and cross at the footbridge and stay in Lakeview till I get there? Maybe I'll go down further and then turn right. Or zigzag. Zigzagging's always nice. We'll zigzag through Lakeview and see where we end up. Nice wide streets and big yards here. Mature trees, one of the older neighborhoods. Yesterday's skiff of snow did not last long. It's gone. Still snow in the shade here and there. You can see in front of that house there's a little bit. There's certainly some in our backyard, which gets almost no sun. We're building a deck out there this year with room for a hot tub. I don't know if we'll get the hot tub in this year or not, but building a deck and a small extension to the back of the house, so there's a downstairs bathroom, and we have kind of a back porch that's, I don't know if it's uninsulated, but the floor certainly is, and as a result, the back kitchen, as we call it, is also a deep freeze for several weeks a year and a refrigerator for probably several months a year, which is kind of useful, but we'd rather have it more useful for other things. So that's our plan. Had some engineering drawings done, and they're being revised right now. I have a contractor lined up. Probably won't be till July if it happens. This is Assiniboine Avenue, if you're wondering. Or as I like to say, following along on Google Maps. And we will zigzag again. Nice and sunny. And infill houses. These are not original, but I don't care for the ones with the garage. It's the most prominent feature. The one next to it here certainly fits well into the neighborhood. A lot of houses, especially out in the new developments, everything is more car focused than sidewalk focused. Now, when most of these houses were built, certainly the ones in our neighborhood, the garages were tucked away in the back and the front yard was the main thing. And with the garage as your main feature, it's kind of all you see is all these garages. The doors are usually set down to the side of them. Not my favorite. I prefer to see the house, not the garage. But oddly enough, people that build them that way don't ask me ahead of time. Not a single Facebook comment this morning. I need to go earlier, I think, before people get to work, if I want to get more people watching live. And maybe on the weekend, I got a few more. Hear the crows cawing in the distance, birds chirping. I'm starting to sweat. It must be spring. Unzipped my jacket, took off my hat already. Too hard to take the glove off of the hand carrying the gimbal, so I'll leave it on. It's a lovely day. I can't say there's not a cloud in the sky. There are clouds in the sky, but mostly blue, sunny. already done a ton of Kickstarter work this morning, mostly out of the way now, except for thanking anybody who backs. I try to respond almost immediately when I discover there's been a new backer. And an update every day. And I'll zig again here. It's an interesting house. So I did my update today. That should have gone out last night because Kickstarter was down for a couple of hours for maintenance. So yesterday's featured author, Adria Laycraft, showed up as yesterday's featured author today instead of today's featured author yesterday. An interesting little development over here that's actually a cul-de-sac, kind of in the middle of all of these grid roads. See over there? Big pile of snow down at the end there. Must be from when they cleared the roads during the winter. We're on Retallick, which is my street, but there's a river between here and home. I'll have to move over a bit more to catch the footbridge. Nice big spruce along here. We have two in our yard. Both of them have been damaged. One on the left, as you look at the house, has a split part way up and has two kind of main trunks above a certain level. So clearly at some point something happened there. And the one on the right, we came back from a vacation once and we knew there'd been a big storm. We drove up to the house and everything looked normal, and our neighbor said, "Look up." And we looked up and saw that some, I don't know, 10, maybe 15 feet of, probably more like 15 feet of the top of the spruce on the right had come off and fallen in their yard. Fortunately, it didn't hit anything, didn't hit our house or their house. It's away from the house a little bit. If it had gone the wrong way, it could have hit it. Kind of put a divot in his yard, but that was about it. So we paid to have that cleared away. Keeping an eye on that spruce. Tree surgeon had said it might kill it, but it's still putting out fresh green stuff, at least on the lower levels, every year. So I think it's hanging in there. It's been several years now. It hasn't died yet. Hope it doesn't. Of course, we have pictures of the house from the early years. Margaret Ann's grandparents bought it in 1939. And it's always interesting to see how tiny all of the trees are, including those spruce. Another free library here. There's a few of those around. They seem to get more elaborate all the time. I've never, I've got a lot of books I could get rid of. I've never put them in there. Maybe I should. One of those. There's one on our crescent, not too far away, and another one up Retallick, I think. This is Robinson. That's the Hill Avenue shopping area down on the end, because we're walking along hill. But we're going to zig again, or possibly zag. Don't know which is which. We're getting close to where the footbridge will be on the other side. I'm trying to think which street that'll be. It's certainly not Robinson. I think it's still got 2 blocks to go west to come out directly opposite the footbridge. keep getting all these notifications from Clubhouse. I was invited to join Clubhouse, and if you haven't heard of it, it's an audio-based, not exactly, I guess you'd call it a social media platform, but it runs only on your iPhone app. I don't know if there's an Android version or not. There probably is. You have to be invited to join. And there are people get together in rooms and talk. And there's some pretty big names, a lot of Hollywood and entertainment types on there, which is how I was brought in because of Lisa Lindo, who's very excited to shop my series World Shapers as a possible TV series. I'm very excited about that too, though tempering my excitement with the knowledge gleaned from a long writing career, how seldom does anything come from these kinds of efforts, but it does sometimes, and maybe I'll be lucky and there'll be a TV series based on my books. That would be cool. Anyway, so I've been in Clubhouse, and very interesting, and I'm following several people, and whenever they go into a room, I think that's where this is coming from mostly, I will get a notification. My problem with it is it's so time consuming. I find video and audio a very slow way to communicate information. I mean, everything I've said on here today, I could have typed out, and I would then, if someone were reading it, if it were me reading what somebody else had said in a situation like this, I would pick up the information 10 times faster reading than listening. And I feel the same way about YouTube. I mean, the instructions for using the Osmo 3 gimbal here are only on YouTube, as far as I can tell. And yeah, they tell you how things work, but why can't I just have a page of text instead of having to watch some guy? And in fact, the guy that I watched that told me how to fix the horizon problem started it all off by plugging some sort of coffee mug. So, yeah, well, that's nice, but I don't really care about your coffee mug. I just want to know the answer to this one simple question, which could have been easily answered in 6 lines of text. But maybe I'm just old-fashioned, or just old. I know audiobooks are big too, but I'd rather read them myself than listen to somebody else read them to me. Although I like to read out loud, and I read out loud to my wife as she's cooking. That's how we're reading the Robertson Davies book I mentioned earlier. It's our current book. The kitchen is not conducive to both of us cooking, which we did in our condo, which had a bigger kitchen. So this has turned out to be really well. We've gotten through tons of books, big ones. We read the Hamilton, Ron Cherno's Hamilton biography that was the basis of Hamilton the musical. We read Margaret Macmillan's 1919, all about the year after the First World War, when so much of what we take for granted now was actually set up in conferences, and we've read a ton of stuff, including some fiction. We watched Howl's Moving Castle, the Ghibli version of it, and I said, you know, the book is quite different, but I have it. And so I read that just recently. Diane Wynne Jones. Oh no, there's a very modern one. And Phil. Compared to the ones that were here. Changes the character of the neighborhood over time, for sure. I've recorded audiobooks. I've recorded a couple of mine. In my Shards of Excalibur series, there's a wonderful series of audiobooks narrated by Elizabeth Klatt that I enjoyed listening to those when I was proof listening to them. We'll go straight now till we get to Regina Avenue. But it's never my first choice. When I'm driving, I tend to listen to music, or I just think, because I get a lot of mental writing done on road trips. Not that I've taken any recently, but when I was right in residence in Saskatchewan, I was driving up there and back every week and got quite a bit of thinking done on those trips. I can get a lot of thinking done walking too, but of course I've chosen instead to talk. Could think out loud, but it wouldn't make much sense, because it'd be things like, okay, so where did Lisa get the AI interface? She must have brought it with her when she left the Lunar Rangers. And that makes sense because, after all, this was the whole point of her agreement with Coop to liberate the Pioneer-class starship on Earth, the Jean Beret. So, there, see, I just solved a problem in my head. But that's what it would sound like if I did that kind of thinking on these things as I walked. These spoilers for the books when they came out. Here's Lakeview School again. Oh, hey, look, one viewer. Hi, David. Now, that's off YouTube, so that tells me that I can get comments off of YouTube. I wasn't sure. I'd only seen them from Facebook. Although, again, the live stream version of this I don't leave on YouTube. Once I've gotten home, I'll upload the high-def non-buffering version of this walk. Some more very modern houses here. And then I'll delete the live stream because it's just redundant. And the high-def version looks so much better. How am I? I'm fine. My knee hurts when I start. It lets off as I walk. I can still feel it, but I'll feel it more after I stop walking again. Less ice to look out for when I first started. My biggest concern, as I said, was turning Facebook Live into Faceplant Live and YouTube into Boo Boo Tube. Had I fallen, it would have been more appropriate to be on Tumblr. Ba-dum-bum. Slipped a couple of times, never fell. Have any characters with healing powers? No. No, I don't believe I've ever had a healer in one of my books. Well, Magebane might have had somebody. I think maybe there's a character in Magebane who was a bit of a healer. But she was also kind of the villain, if I remember right, if she's the one, if that's true. And I don't think of her as a healer. All right, time this right. We'll go across the footbridge again. I mean, there have been peripheral healers, doctors and things who helped my injured characters, but not main characters as healers. Still frozen. Danger thin ice, I would think so. We'll walk along the dike down to Italic this time. It's all dry now. There's only so many ways you can get across the river. Albert Street Bridge, that footbridge, Elphinstone, and then there's another footbridge in the park beyond that, and then you're all the way out to Pasqua. And past Albert, the only way across is clear over Broad, of course. Although, that's better than Saskatoon. The Saskatchewan River, of course, is way wider, much bigger bridges. And there's only so many of those as well. Oops, someone coming up behind me. Actually, maybe instead of going all the way to Retallick, I'll go down these stairs and wend my way over from there, just for variety's sake. Very carefully, because I can't use the handrail, because it's on the side of the gimbal, which I have on a strap, so it's hard to change hands at the moment. Not too heavy to carry. When I first got it, I was worried, can I actually hold the camera like this for an hour? But yeah, it's not really a problem. Once I'm regularly not using my glove, it'll be easier to switch hands, slip it off with the lanyard, and put it on the other hand for a while. And of course, the motion dampening gimbal reduces the seasickness in whatever viewers there are, like David there. Probably the only person watching. Although, if you're on Facebook and you're watching, please leave a comment just so I can say hi and know you're there. And I like the big mature trees around here, the spruce and the elms and the various other trees. Go down 19th here. When do the leaves usually come out? Mid-May. I know that because we always used to be doing a Regina Lyric musical theater show, which would go up on the long weekend in May. And sometime that month, the leaves would start coming out. And back when we performed at Dark Hall, we would tend to go out in costume and get a cast photo out back on the yard in front of a flowering bush that I think is still there. Yeah, it is still there, in behind what's now the new Connexus Credit Union building there. And I know it's sort of the 2 weeks before that when it really starts to show up. The buds will show up before that, but that's when things are fully leafed out. So a ways to go yet. It'll be brown for a while. The snow's gone a bit earlier this year than some years. Quite often it'd still be snow covered right now. And of course we could still get a big dump of snow anytime up until May. Even the May long weekend there have been big snowstorms. I think I've heard that there's been snow every month of the year in Saskatchewan recorded except July maybe. I don't think I've ever seen an August one, but we've come awfully close to frosting before the end of August on occasions I remember. One block to go. Again, as I mentioned before, the house on this corner here was once used in a movie starring Linda Carter. the original Wonder Woman. Only this was disguised as an American town with U.S. post office boxes and police cars with the name of the fictional town on them. That was many years ago. Before I lived right here, I lived down over that way. I walked by there on one of these excursions. That would have been in the mid-90s then. Here's our stop sign. How long was this walk? Well, still just about exactly an hour it's going to be when I cut it off. So now I will change hands here. I seem to be, well, even without knowing, I seem to be pretty good at choosing walks that take about an hour. I think it's above freezing now. It certainly is in my coat. All right, here we come to the traditional stop sign stopping point. So, David, thanks for watching live, and anybody else, and anybody that's watched the video, thanks for watching that. See you next time.